We're in lesson 6 of our study on the book of Joshua. And if you turn your Bibles to Joshua, the 14th chapter, you'll be up to speed where we are in our studies. In these chapters 13 through 17, we're looking at the tribes that received their inheritance. We'll get into the next section where we realize there were 7 tribes that had not taken their inheritance. So we got 5. So we've had 2.5 tribes on the east side of the Jordan River we talked about last time. We'll have two tribes plus another part of a half tribe there. So there's 5, half, 1, and then you have the 5. And then we'll deal with the 7, which they will go in and survey the land, what's left of them. But what we see beginning with chapter 14, as it was divided, you're going to see the idea where Caleb, we'll talk about him. What tribe was Caleb from? Judah, and that we're going to have a big section of that. You'll see it all divided up in the latter part of chapter 15. And so we're looking at some things about Caleb that are important. So our question number 5, we'll start there. And because this is where we're dealing with a tribe that did not receive an inheritance. Who was that tribe? It was what? The tribe of Levi. I never called them the Levitical tribe, but it's true. You're right. That's how we describe it. But it's the tribe of Levi. And my question is indeed, why? Well, they were the priestly ones. Why didn't they get some land?
The last verse of chapter 13 says the Lord is their inheritance.
Okay, and you'll say it over and over again, but I want to give you another reason, and that's why I asked this question. That's not the answer. That's a true answer. Both of those are true. They're priestly in that, and at the end of chapter 13 that way. But now we go into chapter 14, and listen to the wording. I mean, this is how I hope we'll study like this. Verse 2, Moses had given the inheritance of the true tribes and the half tribe beyond the Jordan. But unto the Levites he gave no inheritance among them. Why? He tells you the next verse. For the children of Joseph were how many tribes? 2 tribes. He names them. You have 13 tribes of Israel? You have 12. And they were the Manasseh and Ephraim. And they gave no portion unto the Levites in the land, save cities to dwell in, and suburbs, therefore for their cattle and their inheritance. So he stresses the number 2. He names them. And he tells you that's why the Levites didn't get one. Because you're right. Their inheritance is of Jehovah. What does that mean? Their inheritance, he spake unto them, is of Jehovah. Because when they would bring the sacrifices to the temple where the Levites were, they would indeed be giving worship unto God, but we've seen those portions divided in the food among the priests. The priests were taken care of by the funds that come in to support the temple. That's why God's their inheritance. But that's not the reason for chapter 14. He tells you the reason. The word for, when you study your Bible, it's telling you a reason what's come before. For, this is the reason. And to me, I looked at that and said, well, that's just new information. That's so true. Doesn't contradict anything else we've said. It adds to our knowledge. That's how God designed it. Here's going to be a people set apart from me doing the work of the temple. And they do not get it. But did they get some cities? They got some possessions. 48 of them, to be exact, as we'll see in the latter part of Joshua. They get their cities and their suburbs. That sounds good to us, doesn't it? We live in the suburbs, don't we? But they had their cities, suburbs, so they could take care of their cattle. They would have possessions and their fields, and that would indeed for their substance and so forth. They were provided that by God, And they were scattered out throughout all of the land of Israel and their inheritance. And they were buying the cities of refuge. Why? Because they're going to be involved in determining the people guilty or not guilty, and protecting the people who accidentally killed somebody. And they were located 3 on each side of the Jordan River. And that was going to be the possession of the land. So the tribe of Levi, indeed, because all of a sudden you got Levi in there, and you got the tribe of Joseph, and it's divided. We've got 13. We have 12 tribes of Israel, and it's Joseph and Levi together. But you had a division of Ephraim and Manasseh. And why is Manasseh a half tribe? One on each side of the Jordan River. You think their population was pretty large? They could divide up. And they had their possessed land according to the many people they had. Ephraim for a long time was indeed the primary populated part of the sons of Joseph. But by the time this comes along, and all the fighting and so forth, Manasseh is on both sides of the Jordan River. They're a half tribe. Half, one half makes one. Got 12 tribes. Levi steps out, 12 tribes. That's the reason he said there's two. Why did, for the children, the 9 tribes for the half tribe, for Moses had given the inheritance to the 2 tribes and the half tribe beyond the Jordan, but the Levites he gave no inheritance among them, for the children of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. And they gave no portion of the Levites. He stresses it again, so we don't miss it. Levites in the land, save cities to dwell in, with their suburbs thereof for their cattle and for their substance. And Jehovah commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did as they divided the land. So that's the tribe of Levi. God supports them through the offerings that are being made. And we see that all through the rest of the Old Testament, and even before that. Any comments on that? Any questions? All right, question number 6. By what means was the land divided? Verse 2, but lots of one-syllable word. I missed it. I heard it. So it's sitting there by lot of their inheritance as Jehovah commanded by Moses for the 9 tribes and for the half tribe. So here we're looking at by lot. What does that mean, the word lot? Did you look it up? Hebrew word denotes the word stone. Well, how does that help us? In the Proverbs, you have, the lots may be laid up in the lap, but the dispersion thereof is of whom? God. And you wonder why there wasn't a lot of disagreement over the land? We're going to see complaints between Ephraim and Joseph. But it's just interesting to me, the Proverbs speaks about that. How did they cast lots to have the apostle replace Judas? Who determined that one? It's just you just looked out on the cost of the stones. I got it and you didn't. God determined how it unfolds. It's his wisdom that is set forth. And we'll find a little bit later that Joshua, when we're dealing with these 7 tribes, I'm going to take this before Jehovah. I'll take the lots before Jehovah, because he's determining that. How should they go? How should it be divided? And God has his wisdom to set forth the land that he's going to give them, and there's going to be disagreement, and we'll see that before the chapter, this section is over, where they didn't like the land they got; they wanted more. And you question God's wisdom? No, but Joshua's going to step in, and we'll see his reasoning behind it. But that was the means by dividing the land. So I want this, I want that, give me this and that, and gerrymandering so I can get all this stuff. They cast lots, let it unfold from the lap, and how it folds is the way God determined it. And sometimes we don't think, casting lots, casting dice. I don't like that. But that's how they determined that, to find out who indeed would get what, is what I think is happening. That's by lot. And that's how it's going to be dispersed for these the rest of these tribes, 9.5 tribes on this west side. Okay. Question 7. What was Caleb's inheritance? Let's notice, I want to look at Caleb. So what was your answer? Hebron. That's exactly right. We'll see that especially with verse 13. But back here in verse 6, look at Caleb. We talk about it sometime, but I don't want to pass over it. The children of Judah drew nigh unto Joshua. Where are they encamped still? Gilgal. And that's close to the Jordan Valley and Jordan River and so forth. And that's where they've been coming out to fight and go back. And Caleb the son of Jephunneh, Kenizzite, said unto him, Thou knowest the thing that Jehovah spake unto Moses, the man of God, concerning me, and concerning thee in Kadesh Barnea. That rings out a place. What was important about Kadesh Barnea? Oh, if we'd have just done differently, we wouldn't be out here for 38 more years. What was the place? Where were the spies? Where do they proceed from? They came to Kadesh Barnea. And they were sent over to spy out the land. Oh, if we could do that over again, they probably would. But 40 years old, that's how old Moses was. When that's how Caleb was. 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of Jehovah, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land. And I brought him word again as it was in my what? Heart. Did he feel deeply? Did he have courage from within? Did he have feelings from within? Did he have faith coming from within? Certainly does. And why wouldn't the rest of them? Because what they did, nevertheless, my brethren, they went up with me, made the heart of the people, it made it melt. I had courage deep within me that God would allow us to do this. He would provide that. That's his feelings about it. But the heart of the people melt when these other men, my brethren, and gave the report. And Moses sware unto me that day. Swearing is very important. So that's going to be fulfilled. He did that, saying, Surely the land wherein thy foot hath trodden shall be an inheritance to thee and to thy children forever, because thou hast what? You wholly followed me. Not wholly like sanctification, but totally. I did it from my heart. I made the report, knowing we could take it with God's help. And I wholly followed Jehovah. It's not half-hearted. It's not a little bit here, a little bit there, and I'll mix it with the world, and I'll mix it with God, and I'll get along with the world. No, it's wholly devoted to God. That's who God's blessing. And now behold, Jehovah kept me alive. He's kept me alive. I thought my vegetables did that. Who has power over our death and life? God does. Does he still do that, or has it changed? We're getting more sophisticated, and it's all about me taking care of my body, and I'll live longer, and that's how it goes. Don't presume, James says, what you'll do on tomorrow, how much money you're going to make, and you're going to prosper. Because you don't know what's on tomorrow. Your life is just a vapor. But you should say God wills. Why? Because he has the power to see if you live today or not. Take your next breath. God could take it. And we say, we don't like to talk like that. Well, where's your faith? I trust in God. He hasn't promised tomorrow. And for us to live, it doesn't mean, how many more breaths I'm going to get. You don't have to worry about all that. But just to know that God's in control of your life. He doesn't want you to be foolish, that sort of thing. But the point is, I'm not in control over that. And sometimes we think we are. That's just where his faith is. If God allows me to live, because I've wholly followed him, these 40 and 5 years is where we went to earlier in our study of Joshua, to know that we're down the road a little bit, and how long was it taking for them to inherit their land. We're talking about 40 years wilderness wandering, 38 that we've been looking at, 2 coming out of there before we have the book we've been studying, and according to the book of Numbers. And now it would take about 5 to 7 years for them to conquer the land, inherit it. We're in the midst of this right now. So 45 years. From the time that Jehovah spake the word to Moses while Israel walked in the wilderness. And now, lo, there's the Kadesh Barnea point. We walked in the wilderness. And now, lo, I'm this day how old? I started when I was 40. Go through all this mess that all the people did. And he had to go along with it. He's now, what is his age? 85. And he says, yet I am as strong this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, even so my strength now, I can be a Marine today like I was then. Is that his mindset? You think he's bragging? I don't think so. Now he may get a nephew to fight some battles for him, but he was strong to go to war and go out and come in as I was when I was 40. And there God's blessed him. But he was ready to go fight, and he does that. He goes and partakes of his possessions. Now therefore give me this hill country where Jehovah spake in that day. For thou heardest in that day how, who's there? The Anakim. Well, what do we know about them? We studied them last week. You go fight the giants? Yeah, that's my land. I'm going to say that's what's been allowed to me. They were there. And the city's great and fortified. It may be that Jehovah will be with me, like he will be later on with David, and fight Goliath. And I shall drive them out as Jehovah spake. My heart is all in. I wholly follow Jehovah. I know my life, my next breath is in his hands. If he allows me, I want to have this. And yeah, if the Anakim's there, I'm going to take them. There's the spirit of an 85-year-old man who didn't deserve to have to wander in the wilderness, but he's with his people. Consequences of people turning against God. Just like Jeremiah had to go into Egypt. He didn't want to go there when he's trying to tell the people how they could avoid the problems with the outside forces. And they got scared because they assassinated the one put in by Nebuchadnezzar, so they're fleeing, and they go with him, and he probably dies there. So there's consequences. You may stand up with the people, but you may be thrown in with the judgment that comes upon them, especially as a people. And therefore he's just looking back. And I just think it's worthy of seeing how he looked at that. So verse 13, Joshua blessed him and gave him Hebron unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh for an inheritance. Therefore Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb the son of Jephunneh, the Kerizzite, unto this day, because he wholly followed Jehovah, the God of Israel. Now the name of Hebron beforehand was Kiriath Arba. Why that Arba on the end? He was the greatest among them and Anakim. When we take Hebron, we took a giant. We took a city named after the giant. And that was Caleb's inheritance. How he goes out of this world, from what we can see, that's a positive attitude about life. And I hope when you turn to be 85, you may not say, I'm as strong as I was when I was 40. I'm not saying that you're going to do that. And you want to go get in the army. I'm not saying that. But there's a sense of, the Bible never says, you retire now. You're getting old. You retire now. And you just slow it down. No, your heart is there to follow Jehovah, and you're going to keep doing that and becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. What did Paul say to us in Corinthians? Though the outward man's decaying, the inward man is being renewed day by day as we look forward to what? Inheritance in the hill country? Inheritance in heaven. And we go out that way. We have our strong faith, and that's a great lesson from Caleb, especially about aging. We have young people's classes. We have young adults classes getting started. We're the ones for 80 and over. We don't need a class. We're going to be strong anyway. But there's a sense of, so what do? We have this class where we realize that Caleb is a great example. Any comments or questions you might like to add to that? Are you going to be a Caleb? And that would be a great compliment to your life. What tribe had only daughters? Let's just notice in chapter 15, you have all the borders. We're not going to study that. You have great cities called Debar. That indeed was a place of book learning among the Canaanites. A lot of interesting things about that. You have different places that, like Gaza, and he goes from the bottom of the Salt Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, in places that would include the Philistines area, that city of Gaza. But you have all that divided among the people. And so we come, one of the things I want to see is the last chapter of 15. And as for the Jebusites, the inhabitants, see, this is part of Judah too, was of Jerusalem. That's an important city that we have. But at this time, the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah, could not drive them out. But the Jebusites dwell in the children with the children of Judah at Jerusalem unto this day. So where's your faith, Caleb? Where's your people? Well, Caleb had that. He could drive out. He's going after the giants, and it looked like he would succeed. But the Jebusites occupied the city of Jerusalem. And so God's people just have lack of faith, especially for the city of Jerusalem. Now remember, Jerusalem had a low part of the city and had a high part of the city, Zion. The high part of that city where we're going to find the temple and so forth. But there was the lower side of the city. From when Judges, the first chapter, and verse 8, the children of Judah fought against Jerusalem and took it and smote it with the edge of the sword, and they did what with it? They burned it with fire. We just can't take that. See, Jebusites, they went after them. And afterward, the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites that dwelt in the hill country in the south and the lowlands. So they're possessing their possessions. But they couldn't drive out the Jebusites. That's something that realized that they couldn't take. And we see that was something that David is going to do when in 2 Samuel 5:6, he takes the city, drives out the Jebusites, and that includes Zion. So what harmonizes is this with that they burnt the city, the lower city in that time. It also tells us that the book of Judges was written before David, not afterwards. They say, well, some historians, well, they learned all the history unfold. They did that. No, they were before the end. To this day, when this book was written, Jebusites hadn't been driven out. David drives them out. They didn't write after David. They had been, that's total error. This is done 1400 BC. That's when they've taken the land. It was written for its time. But the Jebusites were not totally driven out. Now, when they got stronger, as other passages say, the Jebusites would serve them like the Canaanites would as their servants, and do their task. But they didn't completely drive them out. They burnt the city, or the lower part, but Zion, that upper city, at this time they were not able to take. They sure did work at it, but they weren't able to take that. And Jerusalem will be finally taken care of by David in his day. He becomes king. So we see this is so true, but what it does, it makes you say, well, I thought, they're Jerusalem. Why can't you take Jerusalem, God? That's where your temple's going to be. But we know as it unfolds, and all this will be troubling to the people because they'd be influenced by them, but it is as a fact. Now, we go into chapter 17, and this was the lot for the tribe of Manasseh. Now, chapter 16, well, let's come back to chapter 16. And it went down the water, and the children of Joseph, Manasseh and Ephraim, took their inheritance. They were given, being a tribe of Joseph, they were given one lot. But Manasseh, this was the lot, the tribe of Manasseh, for he was the firstborn of Joseph. Being the firstborn, he got a double portion. So there's a sense of two lots given, and Ephraim doesn't like it. Ephraim doesn't like it. We're sharing with one lot, and that's what we're doing, and you're going to give Manasseh a lot? Well, he's the firstborn. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That's what God's going to do, and that's what Joseph, he was of Ephraim. And so Joshua was. He was of Joseph's tribe of Ephraim. So that lays the point, our next two questions. What tribe had only daughters? And that would be what tribe? It'd be Manasseh. Manasseh, the son of Joseph, according to their families. But Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, had no sons, in verse 3. He had how many daughters? How about 5? He had 5 daughters. Have you ever known anybody named Mahlah and Noah and Hoglah and Milcah and Tirzah? I don't think I ever saw those girls in school. But there were 5 of them, and we've seen this. Our studies earlier, we've seen that they keep coming up and being reminded this is how God dealt with them. And it shows you how important that their father's name, the father's name, it would be remembered. It would not die out. And this was saying it's not going to die out. The inheritance is there. And the total portion would be 10 portions, and 5 of them go to Zelophehad's daughters. They are 5 of them. The rest of 5 goes with those sons. 10 total. They had equal portion. The only restriction, as we've already learned, they'd have to marry within the family. And they would, I guess they'd be marrying their cousins. Caleb allows this to happen at his house. But that's what would be happening among their particular family. And that's what would be taken care of. So he just reporting that again. And so there fell, verse 5, 10 parts unto Manasseh, besides the land of Gilead and Bashan, which is on the right side of the Jordan River. We've seen that already given, which is beyond the Jordan. So that's true. Because the daughters of Manasseh had an inheritance among his sons. And the land of Gilead belonged unto the rest of the sons of Manasseh. So there's how that's all divided. Now the problem happens with did they have a right to the inheritance? We've established that with God. Why was Ephraim and Manasseh upset over their inheritance? They had land that would touch each other, had cities touching each other, and there was indeed a problem. But there was more brewing there, especially with how Joshua responds to them. So when you read this, what do you think the complaint was?
They said we're great people. We need more space than everyone else.
And yet they weren't great. They weren't that large. Manasseh got 2 places. And you look at the end, Ephraim was not as large as Manasseh. It once was. But that's their pride. We've been greater. We're greater. And we're going to be greater than Manasseh. He's the firstborn, but that's the way it planned. Ephraim would be a prominent people, and they were. That's how they. Ephraim is called Israel. That's how big they were. And so let's get to what Joshua says. Why hast thou given me but one lot? I'm reading verse 14. This is their complaint. And one part for inheritance, seeing I am a great people. Yeah. For as much as hitherto Jehovah hath blessed me. So I'm just getting one. I'm a great people. They were many. But I think they're living in the past too, how great they were. And Joshua says, so that if thou be great people, then do what? Go fight in the forest. Clear the forest, you have your land. That's not what they wanted to hear. Get thee up to the woods, some of the passages say. Get them up to the woods. Sound like Englishmen, doesn't it? We go to the wood. But we go to the forest and cut down for thyself, therefore, in the land of the Perizzites and the Rephaim and unto the hill country of Ephraim and the narrow the country, is it too narrow for thee? So Gary's right about population issue that's there. We're great, we're many, and I think they were many, but they weren't as many as they used to be. And Manasseh indeed was firstborn. That's what we've seen open this chapter. Joseph comes back if you say you're so great, then go cut down the wood. Now, what was the problem there? You had the Canaanites in verse 16. It's the hill country is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites that dwell in the land of the valley have what? Chariots of iron. And both they're in Bethsharon and the towns, and they are in the valley of Jezreel. And Joshua spake unto the house, even to Ephraim and to Manasseh, thou art a great people, thou hast great power, thou shalt not have one lot only, but the hill country shall be thine. But in the forest, you're going to have to go take that, drive out the Canaanites, though they have chariots, and though they are strong. Caleb had those are giants there, but we can take the land. You take it. They're strong. He doesn't ignore that, and he gets the 2 lots that they have, and Manasseh got a double portion, and Ephraim had to live with that. So, if it's too narrow, go make it bigger. Conquer your land. That was Joshua's response to her complaint, and that's how it ends. Any comments or questions on that?
Well, it seems like he knew that they were kind of trying to get everyone else to get through the quorum, and so he, knowing that, I'm assuming, told them, you go do it yourself. You're not going to get a free handout. You need to do the work. You're just like Caleb did. Caleb was more than willing to go take the country, knowing that God was with him. But here it's almost like you see the flip side of that, where they just want a handout, and they don't want to do the work.
Yeah. Well, it's not hard. It didn't hurt to ask, does it? I mean, Zelophehad's daughters, they asked. They were blessed. We were able to cover Caleb, but Caleb said, if you take this city, I'll give you, actually, my daughter. I'll give you that for wife. So God took him up on it and took the city. And she appeals to her husband, and she appeals to him that indeed she would have this area of land to be blessed. And then she came to her father and got off of her donkey and asked him, "Can you throw in some springs with that?" He said, "Sure." No, I didn't read sure. But he said, yes. So she showed honor by getting off her donkey to talk to her daddy. I can just see it, "Hey, Dad, no, I'm going to get down. I'm going to be polite and reverence and that." And she asked her husband about receiving the land. And so it was a blessed land. It had a spring with it. And indeed, that was allowed to happen. And so that's Caleb interacting with his daughter. But it doesn't hurt to ask. But when you get the answer, if we're going to go get this land, we're going to have to go fight for it. And God be with us, because we're going to fight some chariots probably. And so here we go. The land is being taken care of. Now, lesson number 7. We'll start with that next time. Chapters 18 through 21. And let's just notice, where did the congregation move to and set up the tent of meeting? Read that far yet? Shiloh. That's going to be important as we see. Shiloh is further inland. It's centrally located, and it's going to be coming in to importance. But this is how it begins. They moved the tent of meeting even there, and that's where they're going to be congregating. We'll pick that up, Lord willing, next time. Thank you.